Okay. So, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the August edition of Birding Buddies online series. Today, we have Tanaya from Nature Classrooms who will be taking us through a framework, an assessment framework that she has developed. Um, and often I think we do a lot of engagements, but we come with after the engagements, we always come back with a question key, was it impactful? How effective was it? Did it work? And that's where we are coming from with this session. Is it working? And Tanaya will kind of take us through some tools, some nuances around a nature education framework that she's developed. And we refer it to as NEAF. So that's a bit about today's session. But before we dive into it, we'll like to just take a couple of minutes to introduce the session, introduce early bird for the newer audiences here who are attending our sessions for the first time. So let me just share my screen and get started. So, at Early Bird, we come with a mission of wanting to take birds and nature to everyone. And how we do it is through three different methods. One is content. We are creating resources in 13 plus Indian languages and want these resources to be available to people so that they can engage with children in innovative and fun ways. The next being training, where we train educators to use such resources, equip them with ideas, and kind of a bit of confidence building as well, where people might think, oh, do I need to know a lot about nature to get started with interacting with nature? So, kind of these trainings are meant to kind of come over those hesitations and give people ideas and ways to interact with children. And then outreach through our Young Birders network. We do workshops. We started out with doing workshops. We do some bit of in-person engagements as well. And in this coming November, like we did last year, we have a Young Birders Month, which is like a month-long celebration of birds. So more about that we'll keep sharing towards the end of the session. But as part of the training segment that we have, these webinars are something that we have trying to bring together so that educators have um, a platform to share their experiences, to talk about challenges, and learn from other educators, and not feel like they are the only one having to deal with different challenges. So, today's session is also with that in mind, where um, assessments and things, the word itself sounds very heavy, but how do we as educators get comfortable with it and then find uh, then we can get to kind of using the framework that Tanaya has created. So over to you, Tanaya.
Thanks for that introduction, Amrita. So I'll be sharing my screen. Let me know once it's visible. Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So, like Amrita mentioned, our session today is called Is It Working? Where we'll be discussing about assessments, why we need assessments in the nature education space, and also taking a look at the nature education assessment framework, which we call NEAF. Before that, I would want to introduce nature classrooms and talk a little bit about myself as well. So at Nature Classrooms, we work with teachers, schools, and education practitioners in trying to integrate meaningful, contextual, age-appropriate, locally and culturally relevant nature learning into our everyday education practices. And we do this by designing and co-developing nature learning resources. We also try to integrate nature learning in the curriculum while doing so. And we conduct capacity building and training programs and workshops for teachers, education practitioners, and also for conservation students, where we look at conservation education practices as well. And we also try to address topical research questions, which in return can strengthen and inform the work that we have been trying to do. The nature education assessment framework that I'll be talking about today is one of our initiatives in trying to inform our work. And our overall goal is pretty simple. We want to bring nature learning into everyday education with a hope to spark and rekindle wonder, curiosity, empathy, and love for our natural world. So, hi everyone, I'm Tanaya and I work with Nature Classrooms. I primarily look into research and also training programs. So, today I'll be talking about one of my works, which was basically the nature education assessment framework. Before we delve into NEAF and how we assess our work, I have a couple of questions for y'all, just to get an idea of how aware we all are about assessments and what our perceptions towards assessments are. So, for that, I'll be sharing a whiteboard, and I have two simple questions for you all to answer. There are no right or wrong answers, and maybe you all can unmute and answer just for ease of convenience. Maybe you all can raise your hands and then unmute and answer the questions that I'll be presenting. If you are not comfortable answering and want to enter it in the chat box, you can do that as well. So, is the whiteboard visible to everybody?
Yes.
Okay. So, my first question to you all is, what comes to your mind when you hear the word assessments? Somebody said matrix. Anything else? I see quality check, capturing data. Pre and post assessments. Anybody else? Evaluation. I like how forms to fill is so real. Okay, I see no more answers coming in. It's a really nice word cloud though that's been formed here. Another question is, did anybody have anything more to share, or can we move to the next question?
I think we can move to the next one.
Okay, so the next question, since you already have mentioned what you think assessments are. My follow-up question to that would be, what do you think assessments, especially in the nature education space, should measure? I am putting it on the whiteboard as well. Observation and analyzing. Okay. I'm guessing you mean that we should observe what changes are taking place. Perceptions of students, yes. Efficiency of the instructor. It's nice. So assessments basically should not just be for the groups that we are working with, but also for ourselves. Sensitivity of learners towards the world. I see more responses coming in for this question. What's more engaging for the group? Okay. So I see no more responses in the chat. Yeah, really nice responses. I hope we are able to cover most of it in today's session. I also have one more question, and maybe you can raise your hand and answer if you wish to, or again, put it in the chat box. Have any of y'all tried assessments before? Or it does not even have to be any major assessment. It could be something small, it could be observational. Have you all tried it in your teaching learning spaces? Assuming that all of y'all, most of y'all are educators here. Feedback, okay.
So I can like since anyone in the audience is not speaking, I think I will just start. And there are some responses coming in the chat. Though
Oh, yes.
when we do our engagements, be it nature walks or workshops, we've tried doing like for our walks, we have a feedback form after the session and trying to then incorporate those feedbacks in our future things. Or while in the young birders workshop that we do, we've tried doing like phone calls with parents before
Nice.
and after to see if there are any behavioral changes in kids
Wow,
after
okay.
going through a month-long session.
That's nice. Yes, definitely. That is a form of assessment too, because you're seeing if there are any shifts. Okay, great. I thank you everyone for engaging in this whiteboarding activity. I'll once again move on to the presentation and maybe try to look at what we thought assessments could be and the ideas that we put into place in bringing NEAF to life and what we are trying to do through NEAF, rethinking assessments in some form. So I'll be closing the whiteboard now and I'll be sharing my screen again for the presentation. Once again, let me know if my screen is visible.
And you can keep sending your questions in the chat. We'll take them towards the end in a Q&A segment that we have planned.
Thanks for
And
that,
we can
Amrita,
see your
again.
screen now, Tanaya.
Thank you. So why did we develop NEAF? Like Amrita mentioned at the start during the introduction, that as nature education practitioners, a question that keeps bothering us is our work effective? Are we able to achieve the goals that we set out for? Are the students really taking away something from it, or are we just simply parachuting in the space and doing something and leaving off? So to answer all these questions, we realized that, okay, we need to think of assessments a little more seriously. And we tried looking for assessments. We tried looking for some pre existing research and studies done. But we realized there wasn't much that we could find, especially for the global south. There were a few papers that we came across, which definitely informed our understanding about assessments. But on an implementation front, we did not have anything that we could actually use directly as an assessment. And that's why we thought, okay, we need to develop NEAF. So it was not just to understand the impact of our programs, the immediate and long-term effectiveness, but also to understand our areas of improvement. Like as educators, what do we need to do differently? Are our practices working or not? And like I mentioned before, limitations of the existing tools and techniques. Most of the studies that we saw, they were either focusing on knowledge, but as educators, we know that it's not just knowledge that gets impacted when we are trying to engage with a group, right? There are also attitudinal changes, there are behavioral changes. But assessments mostly focus on, okay, what's the right answer, what's the wrong answer, which is largely catering towards knowledge. And like I mentioned, mainly the papers or the assessments we came across were rooted in global north. But India works in a completely different socio-ecological setting. So adapting some of them was a little tough. But above everything, through our conversations with other education practitioners, colleagues, our organizations, and even internal team discussions, we realize that we need a toolkit which is practitioner friendly because assessments can become a little technical or a heavy term in itself, and we wanted to simplify it. And that's when we thought of developing NEAF, which we believe is a easy to use, adaptable, replicable assessment framework. And through NEAF, we try to assess effectiveness of education interventions through a pre-post assessment format. Midterm assessments and retention assessments when needed. We do this by assessing knowledge, attitudes, and behaviors of the participants by using a mix of qualitative as well as quantitative tools. We kind of wanted to deviate from just using scales and very quantifiable tools because there's so much data that gets lost. And we wanted to understand perceptions and attitudes better, even the subtle shifts, which we realize qualitative tools help us with. So that's how we developed NEAF. I'll go into the development process a little bit more. So initially, we started by doing literature reviews, and also engaging with other educators to kind of get an understanding of what educators feel about assessments and has anybody tried assessments before? And in some sense, engaging with educators also told us what was probably stopping us or why we would hesitate to conduct assessments. So that's the whole area where we thought, okay, we need to simplify assessments. Then designing and development of tools. So we designed and developed tools in 4 ways. Firstly, we developed research-inspired tools where we looked into research done in the areas of child psychology, how geographies influence our relationship with nature, and other such works. And some tools were adapted from existing scales. We tried to localize them a little bit to our context and develop them. Some tools were also co-developed where we collaborated with other organizations and ideated some ways of developing tools and inspired from their practices as well. We came up with some tools for NEAF. And some tools are multidimensional where we wanted one tool to be able to capture multiple aspects so that it won't be heavy to implement as well. And then we tried our tools. So we collaborated with organizations across India and went on ground, tried the tools, got feedback and review from them. And all this reflection and feedback was incorporated back into the design and development of tools. So it was a very iterative process. And soon after that, over the last 2 years of doing designing, developing, trialing the tools, getting feedback, again going back to the drawing board and designing redesigning the tools, the framework was ready and it's now available as an open access toolkit on our website, where we would encourage educators to download it and adapt it to their spaces. And of course, feedback, if any, we would like to hear that as well. So this was largely the process of developing NEAF. I would now again want you all to engage in one activity, because I felt like I was going on a rant of how we develop NEAF and what it is all about. So maybe to take a break from that, let's engage in an activity for which I would request you all to join me on Menti, and the login details are being shared on the screen. If it's visible to everybody, and once you all have joined in, maybe you all can put it in the chat box and we can see what this is about.
So either you can scan the QR or go to menti.com and enter the code that you see on the screen. You can send a thumbs up reaction either in the chat or as a react option that you see, so that we can get started. You can see
I
4
see
people.
4 people already, yes.
If you have any difficulties joining the Mentimeter presentation, the poll, please also drop in a message to us here on Zoom so that we can help you with it.
There are 7 in Menti already. I believe there are still few more people who are yet to join.
I think we can get started, Tanaya.
Okay. I think the details will be displayed anyways. So if anybody has to join in later, also they can. Okay. So what I'll be doing here is I'll be showing you all 3 photographs, and then you'll have some questions supporting the photographs, which I would like you all to take a moment and answer. Menti is an anonymous platform, so once again, don't worry about the answers being right or wrong. Okay, here's the first photograph. I would want you all to take a moment to just look at it. Uh, okay, so I hope everyone's taken a good look at it. Now there are a couple of emoticons displayed on your screen. You have to pin the emoticon, which best describes how you feel when you saw that photograph. How did you feel? I see 2 responses have come in already. 3, okay. People are feeling happy. People are feeling surprised. People are loving it. Some are curious. Okay. I believe 3 people are yet to respond. So happy, curious, surprised, and love is what we feel about the photograph. Okay. Everybody done responding? Should I move to the next question? remember the photograph that you have seen and the next questions for that as well. Can you share something that you know about this picture? You don't have to type a lot. You can just share a couple of words, or if you want to answer in one word, that's fine too. Can you share something? Big butterfly. Anybody else? Large butterfly. Iridescence. Say what? Pretty blue. Anything else? Any more responses? Anything else anybody knows about the photograph they just saw? Butterfly. Oh, male butterfly. Okay, I'll move on to the next question. Again, remember the photograph that you saw. The next questions for that as well. What will
Tanaya,
you do if you see it?
someone said that they miss seeing the photograph. Is it possible to show it again?
I can do that, or we have two more photographs, so
Okay.
maybe we can move on to that. Just because I'll have
Okay.
to go back. Pull out my phone and take a picture. Oh wow! Somebody remembered something that they had experienced before. Okay, I'm at it. Nice. Okay, nice. So many things one can do. Any more responses? Okay, I'll go to the next question. This is the last question for this particular photograph. We will repeat the same activity for two more photographs. Do you think this is an important part of the world around you? So many yeses. Okay, nice. So remember what you all just did. The same thing we'll repeat for the next photograph. You just have to observe it. When you're done observing it, I'll display the same set of questions. Looks okay. So here's your first question. Select the emotion that best describes how you feel. We feel love, we feel curious, we feel scared as well. Yes. What else do we feel? Okay, so for this photograph as well, we feel surprised, curious, and love, but we also feel scared. We feel happy. Okay. Is everyone done? I'll move on to the next question. Can you share something that you know about this picture? One-word responses to are welcome. It's a spider. 8 legs, yes. Look like a huntsman. Seems like a hairy spider. Hands without web. Nice information. Okay. Anything else? I'll move on to the next question. In the interest of time, I would nudge you all to enter your responses a little faster if possible, just so that we can finish the activity and move on to the next bit. Want to know the name? Put it on INAT. INAT it. INAT keeps coming up a couple of times. That's a nice thing. What else can we do if we see it? Or what else would you do? You tell your friends about it. Fair enough. Can't you know more? Okay. Run away to a safe distance. Fair. Good same and where they are living elsewhere. Okay. Okay. So last question for this photograph. Do you think this is an important part of the world around you? Thanks. So should we move on to the last photograph? A lot of yeses here as well. Okay. So the last photograph. All of you have taken a closer look at it. Great. So you know the drill. Select the emotion how you that best describes how you feel. Curious and love. Happy. Curious. More happy. Other emotions. Okay. Oh, curious. Okay. So now that you have described how you feel, maybe you can share something that you know about the photograph as well. Bulbul. Red went bulbul. Red went bulbul. Happy bulbul. Okay, great. So, oh, more response. Juvenile red vented bulbul. Okay, so now what will you do if you actually see it in front of you? Listen to it. Any more responses? E-bird it, photography, watch it, observe it. Do nothing much. Fair. Observe them. Look for its nest. Okay. Okay. Last question. Do you think it's an important part of the world around you? Yes. Okay. A lot of yeses for this as well. I would want to close the Menti now. Thank you so much for engaging with it. I would want to let you all know that what you all just did was attempted a tool from NEAF. So this was just an example of what the tools in NEAF are like. The tools are designed in such a way that we try to gauge perceptions a little better and make them a little bit of an activity or a gamified version of an assessment tool instead of just a questionnaire. So that's was one of our intents behind trying to put NEAF together as well. We wanted assessments to be engaging for the participants, for the educators as well. Let me know in the chat what you all felt about the tool uh, as well. In the meanwhile, I'll run you through this tool that you just did, Feelings Towards Nature, what it looks like in NEAF, and also share with you all some more tools. Perhaps also share some data that we collected while trialing these tools. Like I mentioned, the tools underwent an intensive on-ground trialing process as well before they were finalized into NEAF. So this tool called Feelings Towards Nature, what we do is we give students a worksheet. This tool, in fact, is not just for students, but it's also for educators, like people who work with educators, more like in the trainer capacity. So if you look at the tool more closely, you will realize that we ask them about the feelings. Basically, we are tapping into the attitudes and perceptions. When we ask them, can you share something that you know about this picture? Just try to recollect the responses that were coming in when I was showing all the three photographs. Some of y'all were talking about how the animal in the photograph looks. Some even hinted towards the behavior. Some of you straight away went and told the name of the bird or the spider or the butterfly. So that gives you a little bit of a glimpse into the ecological knowledge or even cultural knowledge sometimes, because we have seen children write some cultural significance of the photograph that they saw, or a little bit of media insights too, because sometimes they say that okay, they'd seen it in a movie or something like that. What will you do if you see it? Now, behavior is a little difficult to measure, especially if it's a short-term intervention. But this question gives a little bit of insight into the behavioral tendencies. Like sometimes they'll say that they will do nothing at all. Some say that okay, they'll click a photograph, basically appreciating that particular thing, or run away from it. So it implies that okay, there's fear associated with it. And then the last question, do you think this is an important part of the world around you? Why? Again, this gives a little bit of insight into the ecological knowledge, because you might be scared. You might say that you want to run away, but if you're saying, yes, it's important, and also maybe giving a reason to it, it says that, okay, you know your feelings towards it. You know you have a certain set of perceptions towards it, but you are also aware that, okay, this is a part of the ecosystem around you. Which being said, it's absolutely fine if somebody says no, or I don't know, or maybe yes, maybe no for this particular question, because then it tells the educator that, okay, this is the kind of audience that you're engaging with, and you possibly want to bring shifts into their understanding, or there might be a reason for it. So the educator can try to maybe dab into it and see that, okay, why are kids saying this? Same goes for selecting emotions like fear and disgust and sadness. It gives insights into the phobias or some negative experiences. So the tool basically looks at identifying elements that trigger fear or avoidance, recognize species that evoke curiosity, wonder, or affection, and then use that as a way of connecting the students with nature and detect early behavioral leanings as well. So I'll share some responses. So we had tried this tool in Gujarat, and we had shown them a photograph of a lion. So somebody just went straight, some child just went and they were like, okay, it's a lion, it has a mane. Somebody said, I have never seen this before. Somebody also said it brings bad luck. So this is the cultural significance part that comes in. When asked, what will you do if you see something? Somebody said, I'll throw a stone at it, or I'll remember how it looks and I'll probably go and paint it or something. Some say, touch it. So these are the behaviors that you have to deal with in a classroom. Uh, what will you do if it comes in front of you? I remember this response was particularly for a Neil guy when they said that, okay, it destroys the farm, it's not important. So it gives you insight, okay, into there's some conflict, but as a nature educator, you have to address it in your classroom. And some saying yes, some saying unsure. Absolutely valid answers. So we tried this tool in Kanha as well, and these are the responses from there. I would want you all to just take a look at the graph, no need to go into detail, but see how the responses vary for certain creatures. Um, so for pangolins, many students said fear because pangolins are elusive in that area and they probably haven't seen them. So they don't really know what that thing is. And fear is a response that comes in instantaneously. Then there was curiosity for so many creatures, and there was love. So something like lantana, which is invasive, but probably the child might not be aware of it. But they look at the flowers and they're like, "Oh, it gives us happiness. They're surprised, or we love it for the flowers." So these were the responses that emerged. Now, what would you do if you see the same things? Some kids straight away went and they said that, okay, we will kill it if we don't know. Something like weaver ants, because they'll bite you. So you get an idea about the behavioral leanings too. Some said that we'll click a photo, we'll pluck it again, what sort of flowers and fruits. We'll keep a distance, we'll appreciate it. You kind of get insights into these leanings again, which can later inform your program going forward, especially if you do it as a pre-assessment. So other tools that we tried to include in NEAF was stories and memories about nature. So here we asked them questions. Can you think of any stories, songs, poems? How do you feel about spending time in nature? And can you share a memory? So this is again to see cultural connections, generational transfers of information about nature, experiential connections with nature as well, because when somebody shares memories, they talk about play, they talk about bad memories as well, because again there might have been some incidences which might make them look at nature in a certain way. Approaches towards time in nature, what does time in nature mean? Memories and how they're shaped by nature. So again, these become the starting point for you, especially if you're doing it in a pre-test. So some stories that kids shared. My grandmother told me a story about a wise old neem tree in our village. So this hints towards generational transfer of narratives about nature, where somebody in the family is telling them something about nature, and this story possibly will influence the way the person will look at an old neem tree if they ever come across one. Or Mowgli, it could again be influenced by popular cultures as well. I would like to go to river with my friends. I rescued a bird. It had fallen off its nest. So these stories again hint at how your day-to-day lives or your social connections influence your relationship with nature. Again, it's important information. So when we collected the data and then analyzed it, this is one of the graphs for how do you know about any stories about nature that you must have read and heard. So what we realized then during the trial is children are considering their own lived experiences also to be stories, which was really fascinating for us to see how stories need not just be something that they hear in classrooms or watch on TV or listen from the elders. So that kind of informed the way we were designing the tool too, and it kind of led to some further reiterations for it. And another tool is mapping my route from home to school. This is a drawing-based tool. Sorry, I'll just rush through it in interest of time. So here what we ask children to do is we ask them to recall the route that they take from home to school and draw it out. this gives us insights into how geographies influence their perceptions, how geographies influence the way they look at their day-to-day lives and the role of nature in it. Sensory connections as well, because we encourage them to draw what they see in nature, what they hear, what they smell as well. So sensorial connections too, and emotional connections with the place, because it's from home to school. So it's a place, it's the route that they possibly take every day. So there might be some favorite spots. There might be some things that they don't like about that route as well. Here are a few examples. So this is again from Kanha. So some kids like engaging in this activity simply because they like to draw and color as well. But there are some who possibly will not be interested in drawing. And again, just because it's an assessment, it also means that sometimes you shouldn't restrict the kids for not liking a particular activity, and adapt it and try to come up with an alternative. And that's what we did during our trial in Gujarat, when the kids straight away were like, we don't like to draw. So we asked them to list out the things that they saw. And we had initially asked them to just list it like as a paragraph or as a pointer, as a list. But what they did was they, in an ascending order, tried to write what all they see, at which all turns they take, and really populated with a lot of information. So this is another tool, which is what is nature. And I wanted to add it here also, to say that sometimes simple questions that we ask in a class can be looked at as an assessment. For that reason, you don't even have to ask the kids to draw something or actually put their minds onto something and give it a deeper thought. But it could be simple questions. In this case, the three questions that this tool encompasses are: what comes to your mind when you think about nature? What do you like about nature? What do you dislike about nature? And all the kids have to do is either write it in 3-4 words or a sentence, whatever is convenient at that point. And it gives very enriching data. It talks about perceptions towards nature and the conceptualizing of the word nature itself, because nature as a word might mean differently to different individuals. And we saw that happen in our trials as well. In one school, when we asked the kids, what comes to your mind when you think about nature? They started actually listing out the things that they see around them. So, like trees or flowers or animals and so on. But when we tried the same tool in another school, the children started giving us responses which were more like calmness, peace. So, what do you actually feel when you're thinking about nature? Similarly, in another school, when we tried it out, the kids gave us responses like my home, my school, because these are the places that they get to learn about nature from. Or maybe for them, nature just means their surroundings, and everything in their surrounding is a part of nature for that child. So you get insights into that, and then also positive and negative emotions, experiences, or beliefs tied to nature. Which questions like what do you like about nature, what do you dislike about nature give you? So some responses. Whenever I think about nature, I think about good things. So it's again talking about feelings. Tree is my home, my school. Everything in my surrounding is nature. Trees give us oxygen. What do you like about nature? A little bit of utilitarian perspective, or possibly something that they learn in their schools, that trees give you oxygen, so they're important, and maybe that's why the child mentioned it as something that they like. Everything in nature. I don't like it when people cut trees. Again, something maybe that they have learned or possibly observed. I don't like snakes. Again, a real genuine phobia coming in. So some graphs, just in addition to the responses. So most of the children answered trees, but some answered built infrastructure as well, possibly because they mentioned home and school and the humans around them. Similarly, for what you dislike about nature, a lot of students mentioned geckos, spiders, dogs, birds, maybe some things that they really fear, or trees being cut and pollution, something that they have learned in school or are seeing around them. And many very sweetly just mentioned nothing. So these were some of the tools that we have in NEAF for nature education practitioners who wish to assess nature learning among their students. We also have a set of tools for nature education practitioners who work with adult groups, teachers, educators, which I did not run through today in interest of time, but it's part of the framework where you can take a look at it. And one section that I wanted to present was the self-assessment, because self-assessment is important, and I think somebody mentioned it during the whiteboarding as well. So, as nature education practitioners, program facilitators, it's important for us to continuously keep assessing and monitoring ourselves. And this is not just to see how the program is faring, but it's also to reflect on our own facilitation practices and more like a broader check on, are we aligning with the goals that we set out with in the first place. So it's a very reflective practice, but it's something that through NEAF we are encouraging education practitioners to maybe involve in more deeply, for which we have a set of tools. One is a little qualitative, but it's like a measuring matrix in some sense. And one is more reflective. So this is the quantitative one. Here, we have put together some program-based indicators and practice-based indicators. And maybe if it is attempted quarterly or once in a year or maybe twice in a year or something at the benchmark possibly, then it can give you an insight into, okay, how did you start off with and how where you are now and where do you aspire to go with respect to your programs and your practices. And we also have a reflective set of questions which are more on the lines of, what do you feel your students are getting out of the program? Are you seeing any changes in them? Are you seeing any patterns, or how are they perceiving nature? And what do you think your program is doing in all of this? So it's more of a reflective practice, but again encouraged to for educators to engage in. And one more thing the self-assessment encourages is that why not, as education practitioners ourselves as well, attempt the tools that we have put together for students, because those tools will give you insights into your own relationship with nature as well. So ultimately, I would want to conclude by saying that NEAF was envisioned to be a living framework. It's not something that we want to restrict you educators also when they're thinking about assessments. It's something that we intend offers structure and direction, but also leave space for contextual adaptation, facilitation, and co-creation. During the trialing process of NEAF itself, we had to adapt it to different regions that we were trialing it in and come up with different facilitation techniques for each group, all of which we have included in NEAF as well for educators to just go through our own personal experiences and anecdotes from the trialing days. And we encourage you to use NEAF in a way in which you can adapt what you feel is relevant and pick out what you think is more useful for your context and implement it in your learning groups. So that's largely about NEAF. And big thank you to whoever helped out in the process of putting NEAF together, the team at Nature Classrooms, and Veena and Ovi for being amazing mentors. Shivangi, who is with us here today in this session as well, engaged with the design part of NEAF, and she has put NEAF in a way that it becomes accessible and understandable. And all the collaborators who trialed NEAF in their spaces welcomed us to trial it in their spaces as well and gave us feedback, which became important insight for NEAF, and the students and teachers who continuously participated in all the field trials. So these are the contact details. You can check out our website to learn more about Nature Classrooms, and also you can download the Nature Education Assessment Framework from here. And I know it's 12, but Amrita, is it okay if I just run through NEAF?
Yes. Meanwhile, I think if there are any questions that people have, you can unmute and ask as well, and Tanya can take them, or you can drop them in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah, in case
So
someone, just a sec, Tanya. In case
yes,
someone's
yes.
wanting to leave, given that it's 12, I have a quick feedback form since we are talking about assessments and we know that feedback and things do kind of help us bring in a better session for you the next time. So I'm sharing a feedback form in the chat. If you are about to leave, please take a minute and fill it out so that we know what you liked, what you didn't like in this session, and we can continue bringing to you similar sessions. Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay. Thanks, Amrita. And really sorry for not sticking to time here. But yeah, I'll just quickly run through NEAF. You can download it too from our website. Like I said, it's an open source toolkit. So, some things that I just wanted to show you about the framework are uh, there's a glossary of words that we have put in because some definitions we kind of adapted to fit the context of NEAF. And maybe you can take a look at that as well before you engage with the actual framework. And here, if you look at it, we have followed Nature Classroom's pedagogy when we were putting NEAF together because we wanted it to be learner centric, nature centric, well being focused as well. We did not want it to become an intimidating process for the educators as well as for the participants who engage with NEAF. We wanted it to be inquiry based because we wanted the kids to find, kids or educators, whoever is attempting the tools, to feel like okay it's a space for them to ask questions in return as well and not just be assessed themselves and it's contextual, it's culturally relevant, that comes from its ability of being adapted into different contexts. All our tools have an age appropriate criteria back for like some tools can be used for all age groups, some tools can be used only for particular age groups as well, and it's a practitioner led framework. So it's populated with a lot of anecdotes, a lot of facilitation tips, most of them or all of them inspired from our experience of actually trialing it out in the field. There's a section on getting started with NEAF where we are talking about how to approach it. Like I mentioned, there are tools for nature education practitioners working with students, for those working with teachers and educators, and also a self reflection, self assessment toolkit. Before you engage with NEAF, it's very important to know what NEAF is and what NEAF is not. So if you're looking at marks and grades and just trying to rank your students, then possibly NEAF is not the tool. But if you are looking at it as something for you to understand your audiences and actually notice the subtle shifts which might happen, which might not be drastic, but it might just be subtle attitudinal changes or something, then NEAF is a tool for you. It's adaptable, it's designed to support reflection, understanding, and learning. And what it is not, it's not a standardized or graded test. It's not a tool for judging and ranking learners. It's also not a fixed or rigid set of instructions that you need to abide by. Uh, Again, it can be adapted and tweaked as per your context. So there's also guidelines on how NEAF should be used. We have tried to put it together in a 5-step structure. Know your group, refer to the facilitator notes, choose tools that fit your context, use and adapt the tools, and pause, reflect, and make meaning. I will directly jump into the tools here. And believing that most of you all work with students, let's look at the student tools. So, like I mentioned, there's note for facilitators everywhere. There's a tool selection guide. So, there are 10 student tools, and the guide is structured in a way in which it tells you what tool can be used for pre assessment or post assessment, what age group, what it assesses, and between knowledge, attitude, and behavior, what area does it tap upon? The recommendation is to use tools which touch upon all the areas just so that you get a very holistic assessment. That does not mean that all 10 tools have to be used. You can pick and choose accordingly. And each tool is designed in a particular structure. There's a tool navigation or there's a navigation guide for you to read all the tools. So you have the name of the tool, the age group, and other details. the purpose and overview, that each tool comes with a warm-up, which we recommend using before you actually implement the tool, and the main activity. There are facilitation tips, there are activity variations also, which are basically prompts and ideas for you to adapt it into different groups. And detailed step-by-step analysis, how to interpret the analysis, explore further options on how to not leave it as a tool in your classroom once you have used it, but actually make it a part of your larger program and explore something further. And there's note for facilitators. We have used some data inspired from the trials that we conducted and used it to show how analysis should be done. So each tool comes with an example of analysis as well for you to simply for you to just go through when you're actually doing the analysis. So that's about the framework that I largely wanted to show. You can go through all the tool. This is an example of the tool where maybe I'll show you an example of the tool that we actually saw today. So what is nature? So it gives you a short snippet of where you can use the tool, how you can use it, purpose overview, a warm-up activity, and some facilitation tips, some activity variation, how to analyze it, how to thematically categorize it. Analysis is something that I deliberately did not want to go into today during this session because it was only an hour session, which I've already overstepped. But if you want to look at the analysis part and the actual usability of the tool in detail, then we have a YouTube recordings from one of the longer sessions that we had conducted in April. So maybe you can take a look at that. I think the link will be shared in the chat in a bit. And yeah, so this is basically how the tool is designed. Um, Worksheets are attached to every tool. And here's the example analysis that I was talking about, where we picked some data, where we showed how to organize it, how to analyze it, and how to interpret it as well. So, yes, it's an open access framework. Maybe you can take a look at it in your free time. If you have any questions about the framework, which you think can be answered now, I'm happy to take questions as well. Or if you want to learn about it in greater detail, then maybe you can write to me. That works as well. And I'm sorry, Amrita.
No worries. I'm sure people really found value in all of what you have shared. There were a question in the chat asking a little more about the data analysis part that you did. What tool did you use to create these graphs and analyze? So that's one thing that some Gunjan has asked in the chat.
So is Gunjan here right now?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think she's here.
Just to clarify, the question was what tool did we use to analyze, right?
Yeah, to make the graphs
Okay.
is
To
what
make we tried to stick to Excel as much because we realize that's still fairly widely used in comparison to other data analysis platforms. And we wanted to keep it simple. So we only use Excel throughout analysis for all the tools from NEAF. And we have also suggested ways in which you can do it manually too, if not Excel. But that's what we did.
Okay, sorry, I was on mute. I hope that answers your question, Gunjan. And if there are any more quick questions, we can just take a question or so. But we'll share Tanaya's contact with you in case you would like to um, reach out to her and based on your specific scenarios, learn more about how you can apply NEAF to the work that you're doing. So we'll share her contact in a post session email. Um, since there are others in the while they come up with questions, I have a question for you, Tanaya.
Yes, please.
If from the many tools that you shared, is there one tool that you would recommend that if I've not really used any assessment framework before or not used NEAF before? what tool would you suggest that I start out with? Um,
Okay, like I said, it's best to use tools which give you insights into knowledge, attitudes, and behavior as well, just to simplify the number of tools that you use. And also, from my personal experience, I feel that feelings towards nature is a good tool to start off with. The one which we even tried today in a very crude way through Menti, because that comes across as an activity, and I have seen children as well as adults both engage in it with equal excitement because they're getting to see photographs, they don't know what's next, and they're getting to select emojis and stuff like that. And also because it gives you insights into attitudes, knowledge, and behavioral tendencies too. That was, in fact, the very first tool that we put together when NEAF came into picture, and it's extensively trialed as well. So I think it's a safe tool to start off with. Um, Analysis might get a little tricky because that tool is heavy on data, since you have three questions and one quantitative uh, question where you can just pick out an emoji. But in NEAF, we have simplified the analysis as well. So if you're using that as a reference, I think that's a good tool to start off with.
Thanks, Anil. So Carol has put another question in chat asking,
Hmm.
do you envision NEAF primarily as one-time assessment or do you see scope for using it longitudinally? For example, to reassess the same cohort of students and facilitators at different point in time and track changes in learning or facilitation outcomes.
We definitely envision it to be beyond just one-time assessment. Using it as a one-time assessment in which you have logistical restrictions where you are probably not able to engage with the group again, or it was a very timed interaction, makes sense. But otherwise, most of the tool, all the tools for that matter, are designed in a very pre-assessment, then post-assessment, then even a possible retention check a few months down the line format. And yeah, it can be used again with the same cohort. It can be used to reassess them. It can also be used to check, okay, what all do they retain from the earlier engagement that you had with them? Because sometimes post assessments are done sooner after your program ends, but then you don't know if they are going to follow it even later after your program's done. So in that format, reassessment can be done using NEAF too.
Thanks, Carol, for the question. I hope Tanya
Yeah, I
managed
hope
to
I was able
answer
to
that.
answer it. Yeah.
Yeah, and yes, Gunjan will share contact details of Nature Classroom and Tanaya so that you can reach out to her if you have more questions about the session. So thanks everyone for joining, and thanks so much, Tanaya, for uh, making assessment feel a less intimidating now. And I hope everyone in the who have attended today will try out and reach out to you in case we have doubts. So, yeah, and everyone I think agrees that they really were fascinated by the work that was put into it and the session itself. It was quite easy to understand and follow. So kind of a great start
Yes.
for everyone who has
Thanks,
not really
Amrita.
tried uh, using assessment frameworks for their work. So, yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I'm sharing the feedback form again. Please do fill it out if you have not already. There's a question in it if you would like to have a more detailed session. There are recordings available of NEAF on YouTube. But in case you would like to have another session, please do um, drop your preference so that we can see if there are enough responses. We can try and see how we can make it happen. So thank you everyone, and thanks for staying up
Thank
till
you.
this long. And we'll be back with another session in a month or two. Like we do it bi-monthly. So in August, so October now. So we'll have some sessions in October. So I'll keep looking forward to meeting you all again. And thank you, Tanaya, for a lovely session, and Shivangi and Tanmay for helping us with the back end work.
Thanks,
So
Amrita.
thank you, everyone.
Thank you.